is the Dune City Council regular session, Wednesday, May 27th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Can we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Mayor Forsyth?
Here.
Councillor Wells?
Here.
Councillor Mallon?
Here.
Councillor Orr?
Here.
Councillor Montgomery? Alan has not come on board yet. Susan and Sheldon are absent and excused. Unless, Susan, you made it? I don't hear her.
All right.
So we do need Alan. And I did speak to him this afternoon. He is in Portland, and he's working in Portland. But he said he would call in, and so I sent him all the information.
We have
While we're waiting. Yeah, go ahead.
We do, because Bob does count as a quorum, so
As
I
a
guess
Forsyth.
we can go ahead and, yeah, as a Forsyth.
Oh.
Counts as a Forsyth, too. But it counts as a quorum.
Depend on what side of the family you're talking to.
How do we mute the phone?
It's on your phone. You will have a mute button. It usually looks like, yeah. Did you find it?
Not yet. Just a minute. Let me look. I don't seem to see one there. I'll just be real quiet.
Don't ruffle anything. We do have 9 people on the call at this particular moment.
Oh, excellent.
So, yeah, I think we can probably. Now, I did put Pledge of Allegiance to the flag on the agenda, and I'm hoping that we will go ahead and move forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we will. All right. If you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I would appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America.
and to the
And to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion is approved. I now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved.
I'll do that one. Okay, second. Bob?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Jamie, would you go through the announcements, please?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Dune City is accepting applications for Volunteer of the Year. Nomination forms are available on the Dune City website, or you can call City Hall and a form will be emailed to you. Dune City has 1 opening for appointment to the Planning Commission for the term ending January 12, 2022, and 2 openings on the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee will meet beginning Wednesday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. to receive the budget message and commence budget considerations, and will meet every Wednesday thereafter at 6 p.m. until approval of the 2020-2021 budget for referral and consideration by the City Council. These are firm dates. I am almost done with the budget and ready to present, so I still have to write the budget message, but I'll work on it. Charter Spectrum has announced that on May 15th, 2020, they launched CMT on Spectrum's Stream tier of service on channel 39 SD and 868 HD on the channel lineup, and that same day also launched the ACC network on NPP Tier 1 and Digital View tier of service on channel 398 of the channel lineup in this community. One final announcement is Dune City was recently awarded at the annual conference of the City County Emergency Insurance Services, the CIS Longevity Award, for having represented, we have had service with CIS for 35 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. Citizen input. Now, I would like to remind those to wait until your name is called, and if your name is never called, bring that to the attention at the end. I thank you all for putting yourselves on mute. This is
Except for Bob Oil.
Yeah, or Duke.
I'm right here, I'm
Anyway.
unmuted.
This is citizen input, not items, for items not discussed in public hearing. And Mayor, I would ask you if you want to wait to hear the comments from folks regarding the short-term vacation rentals to that time, the time that is set aside for that on the agenda. Or if you want to do it now. I have no one signed up for right now. Everyone is signed up for that particular topic.
Oh, really? Okay. Since we're going to be talking about that probably for some time, let's just wait and allow them to talk as we, the board, have a conversation about it.
This conference will now be recorded.
And someone please mute their telephone. Thank you.
All right, so what we'll do is for 5 of you that are on the phone, when we get down to talking about the discussion of short-term rentals, we'll all get into a conversation about that, because I'm sure that we all have pretty good opinions about it.
We're still picking up feedback from somebody's telephone.
That's probably mine, sorry. We're trying to deal with it.
Okay.
All right.
That's better.
There we go.
Anything?
All right, so let's move on to old business. Resolution 2020, number 7, adopting Dune City Strategic Plan. I believe everybody's had an opportunity on the council to read the plan. I assume?
Yes.
Yes, this is Duke. I've read it. Okay.
You have it.
So this resolution.
I can't be in the same room with you.
What?
I cannot be in the same room with you because they get feedback and.
Okay, turn yours off then. I'll listen to it. You cook dinner. All right, so the resolution adopting the Dune City Strategic Plan dated April 22nd, 2020. Whereas the strategic plan offers an opportunity to make the city's future happen rather than letting it happen to the city. And whereas the strategic plan clearly defines the purpose of the city and establishes realistic goals and objectives consistent with the mission, which can be clearly communicated to residents. And whereas the strategic plan provides a base from which progress can be measured, employees compensated, and boundaries established for effective decision-making. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the City Council of the City of Dunes City. The strategic plan is found attached hereto as Exhibit A and is incorporated by reference herein. And it is hereby adopted as Dune City Strategic Plan. The resolution is passed and adopted on April 22nd day of April 2020. Before I sign this, is there any further discussion on this?
This is Councilor Wells. I've read all of Exhibit A. I think it's very well written. I think it really states what I'd like to see be doing at Dune City. I'd make a motion to accept it as written.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that. It's Bob.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
Need one more, I think.
I said aye. Duke.
Okay.
I said aye, I think. You got my vote.
Okay. All right, in that case, the resolution adopting Dune City strategic plan of April 22nd is passed. All right. Update on bids for City Hall retaining wall monitoring. Jamie?
Pursuant to the last instructions I was given, I sent out requests for proposals to...
We can't hear you.
I guess I have to unmute in order to talk. Okay. Pursuant to the discussion at the last city council meeting, I sent out requests for proposals to 4 other engineering firms that were located in the area between Newport and Coos Bay, and received 4 negatives. They weren't interested in the project. I guess geotech guys are hard to come by. So this Cascadia Geoservices bid that has been placed, RFP, for $1,400 for the initial, and it's in your packet. Yeah, $1,400 for the initial report and $700 a year thereafter to make sure that the wall behind City Hall, which is actually the back wall of City Hall, doesn't move.
And Jamie, this is required by our insurance company, is that right?
It is requested by our insurance company, yes.
Requested, okay.
Yeah.
And what do you want from us, Jamie? Just permission to go ahead and move on it?
Right. You had asked me to send out other...
Right, other bids.
Yeah, so I could get other bids, and nobody was interested in bidding. So this is the only one we've received. I don't know what else to do. If you still want me to move forward, that is one of the goals. You guys said water and insurance requirements were first on the list. So
Jamie, this is Tom. Can simple maintenance of that wall suffice, since we're having such a hard time with the geotech? Because I noticed it's really overgrown with ivy and blackberries and whatnot, and ivy will kill that cement block wall. And there's a way of taking care of that pretty easily with spray.
if you could get there.
Well, all I could look at is what I could see.
Right, because it's all blocked off. Yeah.
It's
But
blocked off by silt.
what the insurance company is requesting is to make sure that it is not moving and that it is holding firm. And so in order to do that, there's a thing that they install on the wall, and every year they measure and see if it has done any movement at all.
Oh, geez.
And that's what they're looking for. They want to make sure it does not move.
Is that negotiable?
I don't know. You want me to try?
Everything in life is negotiable.
We can try. We can counter back.
Let me suggest something on it. I mean, it's something that we probably are going to have to do with our insurance company, because if not, then we'll have higher rates. But what I suggest we do, if the council members agree, is let's go ahead and ask Jamie to do a counter offer on this to try to get it down. But if they come back and they're in a firm price, let's just go ahead and do it. How about that? That way we save ourselves a month of waiting to find out if this is going to work.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me, Bob.
Do we have a bid, a firm price from anyone?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
How much is it?
It is $700 a year for the monitoring, and it's I can't get to the second page. I think it's
It's a flat 1,400 for the first.
the first installation and initial reporting, and then $700 a year after that.
Wow.
Do you need a motion on this, Jamie, or just?
Since we're on the phone, let's do that. Let's have a vote on whether we should move forward or not. Move forward. Let's move forward with a counter offer. If that counter offer is denied and this is a flat service, then let's go ahead and use that service.
As long as we counter, I think that's great.
Yes, absolutely. Need to counter. Correct.
Let's counter at about 70%, 60 to 70%. See where we go.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable. Everybody else?
Yeah, sounds good.
Duke?
This is Duke. This is Duke. Sounds good to me.
All right. Jamie, you've got your marching orders then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item is the reassignment of the building program and building regulations. That's ordinance 250. This is one of the ordinances where we've got to read it into the record. So I'll start with it. The first reading of the public hearing, old business agenda item 8C, ordinance number 250 regarding building program and building regulations. Proposed ordinance requires 2 readings before it is enacted. Dune City Charter Section 34(3) provides that both reading may be read by title only. If no council member present at the time request, if no member present at the time of the meeting request it be read in full, or B, if a copy of the ordinance is provided for each council member and all requirements for the posting and advertisement have been met. Jamie, have all of the requirements for posting and advertising been met? You have to unmute your phone.
Yeah, he can hear me because we're in the next office.
I can see you talking into you.
She was checking on the broccoli.
Yes, all
Yes.
posting requirements have been met, and all city councilors should have a copy of the ordinance in their agenda packet.
Thank you. Got it. Does any councilor desire the ordinance to be read in full? If not, I would entertain a motion to read the ordinance 250 by title only.
So moved.
Second. This is Duke. Second.
All right. I'll read the ordinance number 250 by title only. An ordinance creating a new chapter 92 entitled, quote, Building Program, and a new chapter 93 entitled Building Regulations to the Dune City Code of Ordinances, repealing chapter 151 of the Dune, turning the page, of the Dune City Code of Ordinances and other matters properly relating thereto.
Do you want me to give you a little staff report now or later?
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and do it now.
Okay. In Title 15, Chapter 15 of the Dune City Code, Title 15, excuse me, which is our land use codes, we address the building program, and that is how that is enforced and who conducts inspections and at what standards and this sort of thing. That is something that can change regularly and does change regularly whenever the Building Codes Division adopts new rules and regulations and that kind of thing. So the first thing this ordinance does is remove those provisions with regard to how the inspections occur and all that stuff out of the land use codes and puts them in their separate chapter with chapter 92 entitled Building Program that would talk about basically what does our contracted building inspector do and how do they go about doing it. And the next one is entitled Building Regulations, and those are our code that have to do with how you have to apply for a permit, the information that has to be submitted, how much it's going to cost, and all those day-to-day operations kind of things. We felt that it was best to take this out of the land use code because it does change regularly, and this would give us an opportunity to periodically upgrade fees, revisit, change whatever along with the specialty codes as they change without having to go through the public hearing major process associated with land use code that requires the Citizens Advisory Committee to meet and discuss it and that kind of thing. When this is actually Chapter 92 has to do with contracting with our building inspector, and 93 has to do with how we do stuff in-house. So it pulls it out so that it's easier to see this is what you have to do and not get it mixed up with and you can't do this, that, and the other thing. See what I'm saying? Am I confusing you more?
Oh,
Anybody have any questions?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jamie?
So, Jamie, if it's Bob Orr, if I understand correctly, this is both a moving and an update. Is that right? It's all in one.
That's correct. We're setting it up so that we haven't raised our fees since we haven't legally raised our fees since about 1997, and therefore it is hard to meet the bills associated with the building permit program at the city. So this is setting it up so that we can actually make the request to increase fees. We just have to dot our I's, cross our T's, and bring everything up to code.
Okay, great.
And separating land use out of building code. So those, because if the state and other counties affect our land use, then we don't have to change our building codes as well. So I think it goes hand in hand where we separate, we can talk about building code and not have to deal with the arduous process of land use, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yes, correct. For example, how we implement the FEMA flood program, which is covered in its own little section that we also took out of the building code. All the codes on how that is done are now in a separate location from the requirements that are required to be met by any property owner.
All right. Unless there's any questions, I'm going to open it, the public hearing. Agenda item 8C, ordinance number 250 regarding building program and building regulations to the public at, what time is it? Minute? There's no clock in here. 6:24.
Yeah.
Does anybody on? Oh, there it is. Yep, got it. Does anybody in the audience have any comments or concerns about ordinance 250 or 8C? I'll give you a minute to figure out your phones. All right, if there isn't, I will now close the public meeting at 8:25. All right. Jamie, what do you, and council, what do you think about moving into new business, moving the D which is the discussion that I think most of the people on the phone want to talk about, up to A, so that we don't hold them up all night waiting on their phones.
It's a good idea.
This is Duke. That's a great idea.
Okay, Jamie?
Oh, I don't care. It's whatever you guys want to do.
Okay, let's do that. So let's have a discussion of the proposal to adopt regulations related to vacation rental properties in the city limits. I've got, we have, are all 5 people that have signed up for that particular comment, Jamie?
I don't know, but I do have letters that have been requested to be read into the record.
Yeah, I saw some of them pretty lengthy, so you can read those. Let's start off with Rich and Lori Olson. Are you guys still on the phone? If so, unmute your phone. Rich or Lori? Okay, let's move down to Mary Jo Leach. Are you still on the phone? Okay, Tina Johnson.
Yes, I'm on the phone.
Hey, Tina, great. Well, we're in. Go ahead, please.
Well, I live at 83923 on Cloud 9 Road. So I live on the access road to the short-term channel. And my concerns are more than just the noise and the trash, which is very concerning. The potholes being created from all of their going up and down the road. But I also have some environmental concerns from all of the bonfires. It seems like every group lights up the bonfire on the lake. And that concerns me. They also, it's pet friendly. They rent it out, according to their advertisement, up to 11 people. So what's happening is a lot of people join in together, and I've sent pictures of 7 or 8 cars. They're coming during the COVID-19 from all over. The group that was there just left 2 days ago, where their license plates were from Nevada. And so during the COVID-19 especially, this has been concerning. There was a letter evidently that was sent out on May 6th. There have been 8 or 9 groups since May 6th. It hasn't stopped or let up. But my big concern is the last large party, which was almost a month ago. I counted over 400 beer cans and bottles. These were left in our yard, in the trash that was in our yard. And that didn't include like the vodka bottles and everything. We're out there unprotected. If I were to call the police, they're not going to come. And if I called the sheriff, they're not going to come. So I wanted in the record that I'm very concerned about my safety. This is a dead-end road. There was a boat stolen out of the garage in the last, I believe, year. There was a wood cutter stolen out of the yard. Now the sign was stolen, the Cloud 9 sign, the last year. And I just am feeling like I have no protection, and I'm very concerned. So it's not just the number of people that are being that it's being advertised to, and the noise and the trash, which is a real problem because of all the animals. The fact that this letter was sent and they continue to rent it out, but all of the partying that's going on is, I'm really concerned about my safety. It's also pet friendly, so they've got their dogs. There have been 2 groups of dogs. We have to keep our dog in the yard whenever they have their dog. And then you can't call anyone because the owners live in Washington, and Turnkey, the management company, does not live in Florence or in Dune City, so calling them has not been helpful at all. So I just wanted to know that I'm very concerned about my safety living there with all the parties going on.
Excellent, thank you. And I've read a copy of your letter, which we appreciate. We actually would encourage everybody that has concerns to take the time to write a letter like you did, so that the council has all this information, because a lot of times we don't hear it, and certainly don't hear it unless you write and let us know about it.
If I may, Mayor.
Absolutely.
This is what Tina is talking about is an active complaint that is currently under investigation. We have received a response from not the property owner, but the company. And as code enforcement officer, I will be acting on that based upon the information that I have gleaned from talking to all the people that I've talked to. And I will be entering my order, and it may include fines and penalties and that kind of thing. That will move forward, and if they choose to appeal that order, it will be appealed to the city council. So we need to be careful not to discuss that, but talk about ways that perhaps the city can make that be avoided in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. So note to the other councilors on the phone is, as we discuss this and as we allow the residents to wage their complaint, we need to take that information and thank them for their complaint, and then we will simply discuss, without talking about specifics of the complaints, we should talk about what we want to do or not want to do as far as creating an ordinance or what should be in the ordinance. Is that correct, Jamie?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Tina. Was there anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I think I covered everything. We bought the house on the lake. It wasn't a short-term rental when we purchased it. Frankly, we wouldn't have purchased it if it worked, because this has just been non-stop. The dogs are chasing the deer in our yard into the woods. The trash, they leave it and then they leave, and it's all over the yard. It's just been nonstop. So it's very concerning.
All right.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you, Tina.
Mayor, this is
Yeah.
Councilor Wells. Can I say something? This is Councilor Wells.
Okay. All right.
I heard hesitation in your voice. You afraid of what I'm going to say?
Always. Go ahead.
I want all the folks that sent their letters and took the time to write these in, let them know that I was notified this about a month ago, and since then we've been on this. Everything that you're doing, it does matter to us very much. I have been down there since on Saturday mornings twice on my own. I went to the nearest neighbor. I'm not going to say their name, but they were at 83921. They know who they are. I visited with them. I went in the backyard where I could see the property. I seen what I observed there. We made note of that. And I've been back myself 2 other times on Saturday mornings early so I could get a good look and see what was there. At one time I counted 8 cars, 1 boat trailer unhooked, and a dune buggy trailer unhooked. And if there was an emergency get out of there, they weren't all getting out of there. They were in there nose to tail. I don't know how much I could say about these letters, seeing how we're going to go into, any maybe litigation or figuring out what we're doing. But all I can say is the response from the property owner is unacceptable, and the attitude and response of the property manager is unacceptable to me as a counselor for these folks here. And I just want to say we will be moving forward, and this is a big deal to all of us. That's all I have to say.
Excellent, thank you. Is Greg Murphy still on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Great. Thank you for hanging in with us. Did you want to comment on this particular issue, or did you have something else?
Well, I just want to say that we just became aware of this issue, or that there was an issue, because of the email that Jamie sent out a couple days ago announcing this virtual meeting. So this is very concerning to us because we are also renters of Airbnb property. We've never had any problems like this. So clearly the people who are in charge of that property or properties with issues are not doing their job. So thank you for availing us to this information. That's really all that I have to say. I don't have any suggestions for you because clearly you have a better idea of how to proceed than we do.
Greg, are you an owner that uses Airbnb? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm an owner who rents an Airbnb, but the Airbnb rental is on the same property as us, so we're present.
I see. Okay.
Renters are here, so and we don't allow more than 4 people, and we're here to enforce rules. So it has not been an issue to us, and we're kind of surprised to hear that people are behaving this way, but thanks for letting us know.
Sure, and I asked that to make sure because I don't know about anybody else on the council, but I've never used it, that app or that rental type of process. So, we may be tapping on you for information on how this thing works as we go along and as we construct stuff, if you don't mind.
Sure, and my wife's here too.
Yeah, I'm here too. This is Jan. I just wanted to say a couple things that might be helpful. I know for the owners doing this, if I don't know what kind of situation they have going, but we always let them know that there's no noise after 9:30. They need to agree to that before they rent, which is an idea that you could suggest to them.
And also taking a deposit.
And also taking a security deposit of whatever amount, $150, $200. Then if they do not abide by the rules, then that money can be dispersed to the neighbors that, or forfeited by them and perhaps dispersed to the neighbors as a way of saying sorry, because that's really unacceptable. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. We may call on you guys for assistance when we get into this more deeply.
Okie dokie. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Sure. Thank you very much. Okay, how about Vaughn Helmuth? Are you on the phone?
Yeah, hello?
Yes, Vaughn.
Yeah, hi. As you said, my name is Vaughn Helmuth. We have family property on Woe Inc. that's basically been in the family since before Dune City existed. And we know why people choose to live here. Full disclosure, we currently live in Idaho, and we have rented out our house for short-term rental. This has been for a limited number of people. No people during the COVID thing in Oregon, and no dogs. And we're basically not because we want to, but because we want to keep the property in the family, and it provides some funds to pay for taxes and maintenance. We don't want Dune City ruined by either unscrupulous property managers or benign neglect. Using benign may not be a good word from what I'm hearing, but just not worried about it. The property managers and perhaps some owners, we personally don't want to impact our neighbors. We effectively request that the city develop regulations to control the current situation and preserve the quality of life of people living there full time while allowing ourselves to maintain what we feel is a family treasure. We would suggest the council check out places like Bend, Oregon, or Lake Tahoe in California to see what does and doesn't work. And we really think that there needs to be a limitation on the numbers of these short-term vacation rentals, and you guys got to have some teeth. And I would say, you know, both the owners and the management agencies, if, you know, they're causing problems. We'd be more than willing to help the council on, you know, about the short-term rental process and that type of thing. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bon, and we may take you up on that.
Okay.
Let's go back up to the top of the list and see if Rich or Lori Olson came back on.
Yes.
Rich?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I would just say that, you know, we use Airbnb, and it is a good for our business. And, you know, to limit the tools that we have, especially during the times of when businesses are having a hard time struggling to stay afloat, that if we those tools, it eliminates the avenues for businesses to survive. You know, I mean, if we want to look at doing something with Airbnb, let's look at dealing with those individuals on an individual basis. You know, don't take it out on all of the people that use Airbnb as a tool to, you know, pay their property taxes to the vacation homes and things of that nature. You know, don't nobody can use Airbnb in Dune City. I mean, Airbnb is not the only avenue out there, but if you start with Airbnb, then you go to VRBO, then you go to some of these others that we currently use. So pick it up on a basis that take those individuals accountable for their actions or the lack of actions. Businesses, not businesses, but individuals or rental agencies that don't comply with, you know, being civil. That's about what I've got to say about it, I think.
All right. Yeah, so in short, your suggestion is that we don't curtail business or sequester business for short-term rentals. We actually just put some rules and regulations around how it's going to work in Dune City.
I think it's a code enforcement issue that may possibly need to be looked at, but, you know, it would be no different than an unruly neighbor being loud and obnoxious and dirty, throwing their garbage over the place that lives here full time. I don't see the difference in that aspect. Take it up with that individual, with that property owner, make them accountable.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you for your input.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is Mary Jo Leach on the phone? If not, then we've gone through those folks that were interested in commenting on discussion. Council members, I would.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can I say something? So my name is Dorothy Carol Moore. I apparently was not on the list, nor did I receive the email, but Tina Johnson was kind enough to provide me the link. And so I did submit a rather lengthy letter. I am not,
in response to what Mr. I think it was Hellman had indicated, I don't think it's not strictly an Airbnb problem because they're simply a pass-through agency. That's all they are. Your problem is with the individual property owners and property managers. And
Yeah, I would agree.
this is a particularly bad property with a poorly responsive, is the kindest way to put it, property manager who has no local presence and is completely unresponsive, as are the owners. But what seems to need to be happening, and I have had a property on each of those websites for many years, and it's partly an owner issue in controlling their contractual relationship and specifically limiting the number of people, both that may overnight and that can be on the property at any given time, so that you don't get an exclusion for people saying, well, we're not really living, we're not staying the night. Okay, well, this is a residential neighborhood, and it is disrespectful in many ways, including unhealthy, and creating a danger for the neighbors between animal hazards and health hazards, and degrades the value of our properties to have someone do this. But I agree that you shouldn't necessarily punish owners who want to do short-term rentals if it's done in a controlled manner. So we had a property in Pacific Grove, California, which was the only city on the Monterey Peninsula that allowed short-term rentals, and they had some very restrictive requirements. And they all required a permit, for example. And that permit required you show a site plan and an emergency evacuation plan. And then they told you how many people could be at your property on an overnight basis, as well as limiting noise, time periods. And you were also required to have an inspection, and they provided you with a list of what needed to be inspected. And Dune City does not have the resources to have inspectors do that, and nor did Pacific Grove. And so they required you to have a general contractor go through the checklist and sign it off, and it was their license at risk if there was a violation. So there's a way to do it respectfully. Clearly, this property owner isn't it. And there's got to be enforcement mechanisms. And generally, money talks. And so if there is a fine imposed and it is ignored, or if there is a warning and it is ignored, there has to be an enforcement mechanism that escalates so that it's not as simple, oh, just don't do it again. Well, okay, if you do, then there is a consequence for bad behavior. So I don't know that a complete ban, and I wouldn't necessarily suggest a complete ban, but if you're going to allow this in your city, one, it is a permitting process and a transient. I don't know how you handle it because we don't do it there. And we're 84030 Cloud 9 Road. It is a revenue source for transient occupancy taxes to the city to help pay for some of this enforcement. So, which is what Pacific Grove does. The state of Washington, where our second property is, that we do the short-term rental, is handled differently. But in California, the money went to the city to help the city pay for enforcement and ensuring that the right thing happened. But what's happening with this property affects all of our neighborhoods from a safety as well as a financial impact. And something, whatever it is, needs to be addressed.
I agree. Thank you for your input and your letter.
Hello. This is Andrew Sturgill. I wasn't asked to comment, but I did write a letter and would like to make some comments. I'm Kenneth Johnson's husband, and I live, of course, at 83923 Cloud 9 Road. This particular property that we're talking about now is accessible through an easement access road that goes through basically our yard. We've had vehicle damage to our landscape over the time we've owned the house. We've had these transient renters park their big vehicles on our property, trespass into our yard. The safety issues that Tina mentioned certainly are very much on the top of my mind as well. We are pretty remote here, and services aren't readily available for law enforcement, so we don't know the nature of any of these folks that may be coming and going down at this property here, and their character. If it was a long-term rental, they would be a neighbor. But as it stands, they are not a neighbor. They are transient people coming and going that no one knows. We contacted the property management, One Turnkey, at the phone number they have posted on the sign that's essentially in our backyard, and asked them about their screening for folks to come and stay at this property during this time of COVID-19, which I understand is supposed to be limited to first responders and support of those efforts. They said, well, we ask people, but we don't really enforce that. We don't really get too far into asking any more information about why they're there. That seems completely inappropriate and against the current regulations. I guess that's all I have to say right now.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andy. I did read your letter. I read all of the letters that were provided, and I look forward to the council and the city in general taking a look at all of these and making sure that we can curtail this as soon as possible. Is there anybody else that on the phone that wanted to address this particular issue or any other issue at that?
Yes, my name is Del Reisenhuber. I'm the president of the Wohink Lake Association. Am I heard here?
Yes, go ahead, Del.
Okay, my concern is that it appears that this piece of property has been converted from residential property to commercial property, and my concern from the Wohink Lake Association point of view, has this property up to standards for its sewage system. I mean, I understand that it went from like a small house and it's been added on multiple times as a residence, and now it's converted to basically commercial property. And so I guess we need to worry about whether or not it's polluting our lake. And that would be my concern.
I think that's something that we could look into, and that's a good comment. I hadn't thought of that aspect, but you're right. If we're inviting 10 or 12 people in at a time, it's certainly probably not something that was thought of originally when the house was built or modified. But we'll have we can check that out.
All right, thank you. That's my input.
Okay, Del. Thank you very much for that. Every bit helps. All right, if that's it, anybody else on the phone? All right, if not, we'll move ahead with the agenda as it was written with new business ordinance 250, building program and building regulations, second reading and deliberation.
Before you for just one moment, I just wanted to make it clear that my name is Dorothy Carol Moore, and so when I said the property name, I wasn't sure that I indicated my name, but there you have it. That's all that I wanted to add.
Yeah, you did, Carol. I got it down.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to assure all the people that have submitted written letters that those letters are now part of the record, the public record, and the counselors have seen all but one. That was the one that I received today from Mary Jo Leach. So I would like to read that one. It's very short and sweet, into the record.
We're here, let's do it.
Please do it.
Okay. I have read the packet information supplied to council for this meeting. The letters from homeowners are appalling, and they deserve immediate relief. It should come today from Lane County for the DEQ, called George Ellers, who is the sanitarian for Lane County. From the complaint submitted, it is obvious that these rentals will have to receive greatly detailed attention in our permitting process since police enforcement is not possible. The conditions described and illustrated in these complaints violate our comprehensive plan and demand immediate legal attention from the city. Respectfully, Mary Jo Leach.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Moving on to the second reading of and deliberation of Ordinance 258C. All right. Agenda item 10A, new business, ordinance number 250 regarding building program and the building regulations. Councilors, I would entertain a motion to change the language of ordinance 250 as presented. Anybody?
We need the second reading first.
Well, I'm just reading it the way it's presented to me. So, councilors, I would entertain a motion to change the language of ordinance 250 as presented. Okay. I will now entertain a motion to have the second reading. I will now, no.
I'm sorry, I didn't write that one.
Oh, sorry, I'm just reading right down the page. So, but let's see, business ordinance regarding building plan, which we already had the first reading.
That's correct.
So
now you do the second reading and then deliberation. Just follow the script for the first reading, only call it the second reading.
Okay. All right. Well, wait a minute. Let me get back here then. The proposed ordinance requires two readings before it is enacted. Dune City Charter 34.3 provides that both readings may be read by title only. If no council member present at the meeting requests it to be read in full, or B, if the copy of the ordinance is provided for each council member and all requirements for posting and advertisement have been met. Have all the requirements posted, advertised, and been met? Jamie?
Yes, they have.
Does any councilor desire the ordinance to be read in full? If not, negative, there we go. If not, 2 days. If not, then I will now read the second reading of the ordinance by title only. An ordinance creating a new Chapter 92 entitled Building Program and a new Chapter 93 entitled Building Regulations of the Dune City Code of Ordinances, repealing Chapter 151 of Dune City Code of Ordinances and other matters properly relating thereto. I will now entertain a motion to accept the wording for Ordinance 250 as presented and to adopt Ordinance 250. May we have let's have a roll call vote, please.
Do you need a motion in a second?
Yes.
Okay, I'll move. So moved that we adopt Ordinance 250 as written.
This is Duke. I second it.
Do we have any? Is there further discussion? If not, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Duke Wells.
Aye.
Councilor Mallon.
Aye.
Councilor Orr.
Aye.
Ordinance 250 is hereby adopted and will become effective 30 days from now. Thank you. All right. Next one is Resolution Series 2020, number 8. It's the consideration of an IGA with Lane County for road maintenance and services. I think you all had a copy of that as well. Yes?
You should.
Got it. This is Duke.
I read through it, and Jamie, the only thing that I found that and it's not a huge issue, but the one thing I did find on page 3 of 4, when it's talking about disputes, normally we would want to, if we can't reach agreement, we would want to use a, what's the word, arbitration, go to arbitration. But in this paragraph, I assume they probably presented it to us. It said that it says parties are required to exert every effort to cooperatively resolve any disagreements that may arise under this agreement. This may be done at any management level, including the level higher than the persons directly responsible for administration of the agreement. In the event that the parties alone are unable to resolve any conflict under this agreement, they are encouraged to resolve their differences through mediation or arbitration, using such process as they may choose at the time. The only thing I have a problem with is the word encourage. That doesn't force either party into mediation or arbitration. And so unless there's some legal issue that I'm unaware of, I would prefer the encourage to be stricken and that we be sent to mediation or arbitration. Other than that, I don't have a problem with the document. Is this, and I assume this is Lane County's document, right?
That's correct. This is Lane County's document.
All right. So they're the controllers of it, but and this is probably not an issue because, I mean, they've addressed all of the typical contractual issues on it, indemnification and certifiability and everything in here. I just have an issue with it. Just so everybody else knows.
Is it the pleasure of the board for me to request an amendment?
I would like you, I don't want to kill the issue just because of encourage, but I would like you to call them and see if they would amend the word encouraged and make it more of a, we shall rather than we may. I don't want to throw the whole contract out because of it, but I certainly would like to see that change. Anybody else?
This is Councilor Mallon. I agree. I don't think we should add that language, we shall or we must. I believe we need to talk to the county and find out why it was worded the way it is.
Exactly. I agree.
Before we make a decision. So.
Sure.
This is Bob Orr.
Yeah, Bob, please.
Yeah. I'm not seeing the issue with the word encouraged because it seems to me that, and maybe I missed something here, but it seems to me that the first step is to work cooperatively and try to figure out the problem. The second step is everybody's encouraged to go through mediation or arbitration, and I presume that means before the courts are involved. Is what you all are saying that you want to make that a requirement so that there will not be courts involved? Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. Yes. Typically, what happens is if you have a document and it sends you to mediation or arbitration, the finding from the mediator or the arbitrator is final, and then that way nobody goes to court.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with changing the language then if they'll agree to it.
But I also would like to, like I said, I don't want to throw this contract out. I think it's a good contract. But I would like to know why they have language in there that's a little bit different than what I'm used to in contractual law.
That's what I said earlier.
Yeah. All right. Otherwise, though, Jamie, how do we want to do this? Do you want to go ahead and contact them first and then agree to, or then bring this up at the next meeting, or is this something that needs to be done right now, or is this something that we can do once we hear the answer?
We can do it later on. I can get a hold of Andy. It's the new form. It's the latest form given to them by the district attorney's office. So I can get a hold of the DA and talk to him about this language and see if they can explain. It may be something that's in that 100-page public contracting thing that I gave out to you guys at this meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I've gone through a bunch of it already, but because that's the one thing that does really interest me. But is, contracting law. I really like it. Yeah, if you would do that, if nobody else minds, I'd like to put it off till we hear that language so that we fully understand what we're signing.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, thank you. Resolution Series 2020 number 9, compensation coverage of volunteers of the city. This is if I'm reading this right, Jamie, this is another either a requirement or a strongly held by our insurance company that we insure, I say insure, workman's compensation for anybody that is a volunteer and injures himself while in the service of the city. Is this correct?
That's correct, and it was a position that has been taken by the city for many years, a resolution that was adopted years ago. Of course, it is, you can do away with it, but then we just lose any volunteers that we have, and right now we have quite a few for water quality.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about losing them as much as I am one of them being sued because we're not insuring them.
Mm-hmm.
And did everybody else read this? Are you good with this?
Yeah, this sounded fine to me.
Yeah, and yep. And as we go through this, it caught me at first glance when it said annual wage is $2,500, and then I started reading it a little deeper instead of a quick scan and went, oh no, that's the way the insurance company can put a value to it rather than actual dollars.
Yeah, you really asked for your pay, right?
Yeah, it's really, I said, I want retroactive.
And more for the mayor.
Oh yeah, hey, that's right.
Yeah.
Then finally somebody else would run for mayor. Okay, this is not one we have to read, is it?
No,
Amy?
not necessarily. You just need to take a vote on it.
Yeah, because it's kind of broken up in the way it's presented. I would entertain a motion to accept Resolution 2020 number 9.
So moved. It's Bob.
Thank you. Second. Third. Any further any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 2029 is passed. If my sorting of papers is correct, Public Contracting Code revision. I forget how many pages, but it's probably close to 100.
It is 100.
you just gave this to us for a little late reading.
Right.
Yeah, what I did notice is that nobody went through it and told us what the changes were. They just told us this is the new public contracting code.
Part of the problem with that, they actually had to do it twice because Dune City has not brought its code up to current standards since 1997. And so the attorneys had to spend a great deal of time. I think she finally just decided kind of to throw everything out and start all over again.
Yeah.
I think that's why we have what we have. And you'll note that she's doing this as rules and regulations as opposed to code, which is still enforceable like code, but it doesn't have to go in your code book. It goes in another book.
Yeah, that's what we need to do is create more books.
Yeah, because we don't have enough of them.
That's right. All right. Any questions on the public contracts rules? I mean, this is just going to, it's amazing that this,
I just distributed it,
go ahead.
and we'll bring it up later.
All right, that's fine. All right, now we're down to reports. Mayor's report. All of you will probably be visited by men in black coats eventually because I've sent 4 of my concerns about our governor and current lockdown, if you will, to Attorney General Barr with various comments and various concerns. So you may be looking for a new mayor someday. I was nice, but other than that, we've been working on the properties, and this really hasn't affected us much, Cindy and I, in the fact that we're not going to town 3 times a week eating and drinking, so I'm probably saving about $500-600 a month. And working on my property every day because I don't have anywhere else to go, so I've lost about 35 pounds. And so it's done me pretty good. Duke Wells, Community Center report.
Well, just looking around here, I think the bed needs made, but other than that, I don't have anything.
So you've designated that room as your community center?
That's what it's looking like.
All right, Councilor Snow is not here. Jamie, Public Works.
I'm in the process of drafting this year's Small Cities grant. I have to narrow down which project that we would choose. That is one of few grants that we apply for. Very, very competitive, but we apply for it and we don't have to pay match. So it's like right up our alleys to get some of the major work problems on roadways taken care of. So that's the current project. You want me to go right into emergency services, which has been my life since March 23rd?
Yeah, I guess so. Sure, absolutely.
Okay. At the initialization of the governor's closure order, the Emergency Operations Center for the West Lane Emergency Operations Group was established. And base camp was initiated, and we began meeting 3 times a week via telephone and putting together. It's been a wonderful experience to have all these expert people everybody taking care of their things and yet working together as a cohesive unit to make sure that businesses get the information that they need, that individuals get the information that they need as it becomes available, or at least become aware of where resources are available for them. And so I'm very happy to have been a part to experience that. There's glitches like there always is, but it's doing good. We're going to be doing an after confab meeting to talk about issues that we thought may have been wonderful. And as for our residents, all I can say is that they are wonderful. They are participating in making masks for use by local medical care providers. They have provided supplies to Families First, Food Share, and homeless shelters. The list of their volunteer efforts goes on and on, but most of all, they seem to have complied with the recommendations for mask wearing and social distancing. I wish I could say the same about the short-term vacation rentals in Dune City. These visitors did not seem to care about the virus or that they might be spreading it all over the community where about 54% of our population is over the age of 65. In any event, we now move forward to recovery and reacting to the lessons we've learned, like Dune City really needs to get a couple of touch-free thermometers and more masks. I did attend the May 18th WELOG meeting where the proposed budget was introduced and updates were given. Consideration of the budget will occur at the next meeting, which will be in June, third Monday in June. For my report, for the City Council Administrator report, there were 9 structural, 7 mechanical, 4 plumbing, 7 electrical, and 1 excavation and grading permit issued between February 1st and March 19th. There were also 2 vegetation removal and 1 shoreline vegetation removal permits issued. A driveway permit was renewed and a temporary right-of-way use permit was denied. Now that was through March 19th before the governor's order. Since March 19th, there have been 17 electrical permits, 1 plumbing permit, and a few permits from 2005 and 2006 that were reopened to obtain final inspections and closure. We do have numerous plans that have been submitted for remodels, alterations, new accessory construction, and new homes, and they're all currently under review by either this office or Northwest Code Professionals. Complaints this month had to do primarily with visitors staying in vacation rentals, and the front window of the office remains closed for business, and only Rapunzel and I are in the office. We continue to conduct business via telephone, email, mail, or through the mail slot at City Hall. If an appointment must be made, an appointment can be made. Local businesses are beginning to open up. There is a financial assistance available for businesses and for individuals who are facing hardships as a result of the virus. If anyone is interested in learning more, they can either email me, recorder@dunecityor.com, or call the office to make a request. I ask for everyone's patience during this difficult time. We are doing the best we can. Thank you.
Anything else? Good as the order. Tom, anything?
Yes, sir. Inasmuch as a few of the speakers live off of Cloud 9, and I live off of Cloud 9, and just maybe, only maybe, the vacation rental folks have seen fit to steal the Cloud 9 street sign, including the post. Yes, and inasmuch as I have 2 or 3 important people, at least important to me, trying to get to my home within the next 14 days or so, it is hard for me to give them directions with no street sign. I may stand out there with a flashlight or something, but I'm curious, does Dune City have to pay for that stolen sign, or does Lane County pay for it? And no matter who pays for it, Jamie, do you happen to know when that might get installed again? Thank you.
Dune City does have to pay for it. We order it through the signs company, it's not a company, the sign department of Lane County, because they are actually cheaper than going through another company to get the sign. They have a pretty good turnaround time, so I do need to make the call to make the order. But first I need to check and see if I have one in the shed, because I may still have one out there. Because Cloud 9 disappears a lot. There are a lot of roads that we have that just do anything having to do with the dunes. Our Dune City sign, we went through 11 of them last year.
Good Lord.
I know, and they're about $60 a piece. There are times when I felt like I'd like to make them electrified, so that they get zapped when they touch it.
You know, maybe we should rename Cloud 9 to Stolen Property Boulevard.
That'll be good for property values.
Yeah.
Or we could put a
Anyway,
tracing chip on it.
Do I have a motion on that?
Bob Orr, what's your good of the order?
A question, and that is, where are we leaving this issue with the rental properties? And I understand that Jamie has told us there are some things moving forward, but in the meantime, are we? It seems to me that there is some urgency about resolving this issue, and it seems to me that we as a council should be discussing some things that could be done in terms of rules and regulations or ordinances that would not prohibit people from continuing to rent out their properties, but that would specify some things that would be helpful. So where are we leaving it at this moment?
My intention, what? Jamie?
I said if I may, but if you want to go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, was my intention, if it wasn't stated, was that we all agreed that something needed to be done. I would expect that Jamie goes out, gathers up as much information as she can. Probably there's information in your packet that folks have sent. We can get all sorts of information from coastal towns like ours that up and down the coast that allow these types of things but have regulations on it, and then present that to us at our next meeting.
Okay.
What I would like to see.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
What I would like to see is that you guys just go ahead and instruct me to draft an ordinance. It always seems to work better if we have an ordinance first to get started as a jumping off point, so that we can all have input and that kind of thing. And that's how I draft an ordinance, is by doing the research and trying to put things together that might work for us. And I will tell you that in the staff report when I have the ordinance drafted, if that's what you want me to do.
The thing that I would like to see, Jamie, when you do that is when you do the ordinance, and it doesn't need to be in the ordinance, but I would like to see footnoted where the information came from in your research. Where did you find this paragraph, that kind of thing, if you would.
Okay.
Yeah, I certainly encourage that. I'm happy to hear we're going to do that. And I think we're all feeling that this is an issue that needs to move forward as I know that these things can take some time, but I hope we can move forward quickly on this one.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
If I may, Councilor Mount, I'd just like to say that I think in drafting that ordinance, we need to consider what we heard from tonight from those people who are already in Airbnb properties, they're property owners. And it seems the one common denominator that they have making them successful is that their management companies are local. At least I get that impression. And I think part of the ordinance needs to be that the management company needs to be local. They need to be checked out. They need to be responsive and have a track record of that. Out-of-state property owners, I don't see that as a problem at all. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. But we sure need to do something about that.
Absolutely. Dude, are you still awake?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. You guys stole a lot of my thunder, though.
Anything for us?
Absolutely. I agree with Councilor Mallon and Orr. This is out of the bag. Things are terrible down there. It's completely out of hand. I wish there was something that we could do immediately And in listening to the testimony, I think the most immediate thing we might be able to do is get Lane County, and I don't know if Mary Jo Leach or Doug Reisenhuber are still on, but if they are, they better sit down because I agree with them. We need to look. I think maybe the septic issue may be the way, because 3 times I've been down there, there's been an overload of people in the parking lot. I have not been in and out, but it appears that residential home is being overused in its single-family residence. That might be an avenue for us to get that shut down or limit at least the number of people that are in it. So that's all I'm saying. I do want to move forward on this as fast as we can.
Excellent. I think we all do. Thank you, Duke. If there's no other comments, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. We stand adjourned at 7:26. Thank you, everybody, for going through this effort on the phone. Thanks again.
Thank you. Nice job.